With President Trump's inauguration right around the corner, many are concerned about the immediate immigration changes that will take place on day one of his administration. Today, I'm going to break down the top 3 immediate changes to expect in 2025, as well as the ways that you can prepare to protect yourself and your loved ones. I'm U.S. immigration attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I help clients to stay here in the United States, and that means they get their work permits and their permanent residence. I also share important information and updates to empower immigrants in their immigration journey. President Trump has pledged that he will carry out the largest mass deportation operation in the history of the United States. That means deporting millions of undocumented immigrants at one time. Can this be done? It is unlikely that President Trump will be able to overcome the logistical requirements that are needed in order to carry out such an operation to deport approximately 13 million undocumented immigrants in 1 year. Even deporting 1 million immigrants a year would carry with it prohibitive costs to the taxpayers that would certainly put a burden on the U.S. economy. In addition to that, the United States labor market depends on these millions of undocumented immigrants to fill positions that are not usually done by American citizens or U.S. persons. To carry out this mass deportation, it would mean taking away certain individuals out of the labor market that the U.S. depends on for this work. That in itself would lead to a labor shortage and an economic crisis. With that being said, do count on the fact that we will see an increase in deportation operations, and we will probably see more deportations than we have seen in the last 4 years. Trump's mass deportation operation will most likely start with these individuals.
President-elect Trump has promised to conduct the biggest deportation operation in American history.
The first is undocumented immigrants who already have a deportation order. They are the ones that can be picked up, and the U.S. government can carry out their powers to deport them because there's nothing further to do. There are no appeals, and there probably are no further immigration options for this individual. So they're going to target those individuals first for deportation. The second group that will be targeted first will be immigrants who have criminal records, and those criminal records have been adjudicated, they have a conviction, and what's left to do is put them through a removal proceeding. Now keep in mind, mass deporting undocumented immigrants does not mean that they will not have due process. They still have to go through their immigration proceedings before they are able to be deported. The third group here that will be targeted for deportation are those who recently crossed the border and those who do not have any legal options to stay here. They haven't filed for asylum, and they haven't gone through any family or humanitarian-based relief here in the United States. They have none of that pending. They will also be targeted. They will be put through the court system and then deported. Now, with that being said, there is a process that needs to take place first. And for those immigrants that do anticipate a process first, my advice is to make sure you get legal advice as soon as possible to see what your options are. Do you have any new options that you haven't explored yet? Make sure that you have an attorney on speed dial so that that attorney can take action quickly if any deportation proceedings proceedings are brought against you. What I do is I help individuals who are here without their papers and who may have even come into the country without permission. And I help them to find the legal means to stay here in the US. And that means to get permission to be here, to get protection from deportation, to get their work permit, and ultimately to get their permanent residence. Now, it is important to understand that if you've been through situations here like abuse or victimization here in the United States, that could open up the door for you to be able to get relief here that could stop any immigration proceedings that are being brought against you. It might even help you to avoid being detained altogether. So it's imperative that you make sure that you get that legal advice from early on before these changes are put in place so that you can pursue those options and get protection for yourself and your loved ones. The second immediate change that we will be seeing is we will be seeing those restrictive border policies coming back. We have even heard of rumors that they plan to implement family separations again, and that they are also going to re-implement the Remain in Mexico border policy. The Remain in Mexico border policy required immigrants who wanted to seek asylum to stay outside of the United States right at the border in Mexico, and then they could only enter the United States to attend court proceedings to determine whether they were going to be granted asylum. The third major change that we've heard that is more than just a rumor right now is that Trump will release an executive action ending birthright citizenship. And this will state that children who are born to undocumented immigrants will not have U.S. citizenship. Once again, the logistics of this are shady because, first of all, being born in the United States and an entitlement to U.S. citizenship is a constitutional right. That is the supreme law of the land. It takes even precedence over a presidential executive action. Therefore, the president cannot write something out of the Constitution with an executive action. We are expecting that there will be a legal battle regarding birthright citizenship. And based on the plain language of the Constitution, President Trump should not be prevailing in this action. Now, keep in mind, while this litigation is moving forward, challenging the presidential executive action ending birthright citizenship, it's important to understand that the administration may slow down issuance of passports to children of undocumented immigrants. And so it's important that before the inauguration, you make sure you apply for the passports of your young children and any newborn children that you have before the inauguration takes place. And also, after the issuance of this executive action, any undocumented immigrants who then have a child here in the United States will have the right to challenge this in litigation. So you should always seek legal advice about how to challenge this executive action. I do anticipate that the minute it is released, that there will be a challenge, either from the states that are trying to protect this constitutional right or from individuals themselves challenging this executive action. And in that case, it's important to keep up with the litigation and, as a result of that, your rights as the litigation plays out. Now, those are the top 3 changes to expect. Of course, throughout 2025, we're going to expect a lot of policy changes internally, especially at the USCIS, in regards to employment-based immigration, family-based immigration, and humanitarian-based immigration. I am a U.S. attorney that has been practicing for the past 10 years, and I did practice during the last Trump administration. So I do understand what is to be expected during this administration. We're going to be seeing a lot more policies geared towards fraud detection, which means that we're going to have a lot more delays in our application processes, unfortunately. In addition to that, we will see old policies be re-implemented, like the public charge rule that stated that not only did the petitioner, the sponsor, the U.S. citizen or resident family member who's petitioning for their immigrant family members have to show sufficient income, but on a whole, they look at the circumstances and situation and background of everyone involved in the process to determine whether they will be found to be a public charge. That means they're likely to depend on public benefits. And if you're likely to depend on public benefits, it means that you're inadmissible. What we saw the last time was the public charge rule focused on not only income and tax returns proving income, but also it focused on the age, the employment, the education, the credit history, the debt, the health of the immigrant and in their background as well. So we are going to probably see that policy come back, and with that, a more complicated immigration process. So it's important to keep in mind that the face of immigration and the lens through which immigration officers decide these cases, it's going to get a lot more complicated. So make sure that you protect yourself by getting in touch with our office, seek the legal advice so that you can ensure you're protected through the process, you're still ensured a smoother process, and you increase your likelihood of success. With that being said, I hope this video was helpful. Please like, subscribe, that it gets out to many more people who need the empowerment of this information. Once again, I will be back with updates and information that is geared towards empowering you and immigrants through the immigration process. Until then, take care.